persons is a global problem that is generally traceable to social woes such as poverty, illiteracy, unemployment, corruption, greed, and abrogation of parental responsibility. At the International Conference on Combating Human Trafficking held in Rome in 2014, Pope Francis, Catholic Pontiff, denounced trafficking in persons, calling it an open wound on the body of the contemporary society. At the same conference, John Cardinal Onaikan acknowledged that trafficking has become an embarrassing social problem in Nigeria. Nevertheless, he commended the efforts of women's religious communities in combating human trafficking. What forms of trafficking take place in Nigeria, and why is trafficking in human persons a huge industry in Nigeria, despite Nigerians' collective value for abundant life? By the records of the UNESCO, Nigeria remains a source, transit, and destination country for human trafficking. In 2008, the U.S. Department of State noted that 46% of transnational victims are children, with the majority of them being girls. According to the Global 2014 Slavery Index, an estimated number of 834,000 Nigerians are living in slavery. The National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking Persons, NAPTIP, reported in its fact sheet that the average age of trafficked children is 15 years and that Nigerians make up 60 to 80% of the girls who are trafficked for sex trade in Europe. We can go on and on. Thanks for joining us on the program today, Diplomatic Ties, with a focus on networking with Nigeria in the fight against trafficking in persons. My guest is the German based in Austria, Andreas Kalloch. He is of the NGO Heart Foundation, Vienna. Mr. Kalloch partners with the private and public sectors in Nigeria and indeed Africa in the fight against trafficking in persons. Precisely, in Nigeria, he collaborates with Media Campaign Against Trafficking and indeed the National Agency for Prohibition in Trafficking Persons. Thanks for joining me on Diplomatic Ties.
Thanks.
That will be the focus on the program today. As we say, stay on as the discourse continues. Stay with us. Should I say, welcome back to Nigeria?
Thanks.
Okay, you were here last time and we had a part one of the focus. But when we telecast the last one, a couple of questions came and I want to start with that. One of it, there are about three we have selected that we know can meet, can bring the viewers up to speed on what you're doing. The first question came from Asudam Timothy from Benue State. He said, what can he do to join your program?
Thank you for inviting me again. It's a surprise, and I'm very excited to be here again. And yeah, I'm happy for this question actually, because they're very good questions. Yeah, he can join MECAT in Nigeria because we have partners in different areas. We have also a partner in Ibadan. We have a partner in Benin, in Jos, in Abuja. And I think later on we will highlight the dates so you can get in contact with us, because it's very good that we have partners everywhere that can join us and get training, so they can also help girls that they get not trafficked and to raise awareness.
Okay, so MECAT means what?
MECAT means Media Campaign Against Human Trafficking, but it's not only media, we also do it very practically. We do outreach, we have a safe house in Abuja. So we do a lot of things to cover the fight against human trafficking. Okay.
The second reaction came from Prophet Olutoye Emmanuel. He is based in Akure, Ondo State, southwest Nigeria. He is of the Christian Union Development Ministry. He says, we are into revival and winning of souls. We come in contact with a lot of women who are into prostitution, and after they surrender their lives to Christ, but we find it difficult to retain them because after a while they go back to the truth because they cannot feed them and other reasons. So their question is, how can you be of help? Or what can they do?
Yeah, I really like this question because this is a question we have all over the world, because it's the same situation. When a woman stops to work in prostitution, she has no work, often she has no place to live anymore. Like we have the same problem in Austria, because many of these women, they even live in the brothel. So if they stop working in the brothel, they lose everything. They lose their job, they don't have any money. So this is where it starts very practical, I think, because helping people in prostitution is a holistic ministry. So it's not enough just to go out and reach her with the love of God and help her maybe to stop and accept Christ. Because this is just the first step. The real work starts then. Because then, as the pastor said, you have to look that she gets another job. Maybe that she gets another place to live. So, and I think that's where the church can really step in. And I think it's not only possible for one church, because it means a lot of things you need. You know, it's a matter of money actually. You know, because it will not go without costs. So I think that, and I really believe that churches have to unite in this ministry, and maybe you have to start like what we have, like a safe house, where the women or girls can come when they stop and live there, and then we can see what they need. Maybe some never went to school, so we have to help them to get an education. Some maybe need like a microfinance plan for starting a little business.
Okay.
All of them need also psychological help, because it's a lot of traumatic experience when you work in prostitution. You know, you experience a lot of abuse and violence. You know, so this is shortly said what we can do. You know, I mean, it's very interesting because actually I started when I first came here, 2011. I came with a friend of mine, and she is a pastor, a Nigerian pastor in Austria, and she comes from Akure. So the first place I went, 2011 was actually Akure, and I have seen that there's a lot of prostitution. And actually this woman, she is also doing a program in Akure. She started also like an education program. I know that MECAT has also contact to people who do this microfinance. Okay. I think there's a lot of funds in Nigeria. Okay. And I think we have to look for these funds, you know. Okay. Because we have both here in Nigeria. We have rich and we have poor people. And we have also, I think we have to involve the rich people and to help them to use their money for good things, you know. Okay. Because, I mean, human trafficking, it's not a problem of some people. I think it's a problem of the country, you know, and I think many people have to get involved. Okay. I think it doesn't matter if it's a Muslim or a Christian, you know, because we all have a heart, you know. We all know that human trafficking is a very bad thing, you know.
All right. So the very last, but not the least, is from Pastor Felix of the Assemblies of God. He didn't particularly state his location here, but he said, I would like to meet with your guest as you from Austria, so as to collaborate with and host him. So what's your take on this? He wants to meet with you and also to collaborate and host you. I think
it's a little bit like the first question. I can only say I'm very open, you know, because every time I now come at least 2 times a year. So, and if he wants also to collaborate or maybe get training for his church, I'm really open. So I think you will later highlight my email address, so you can get in contact with me or also with MECAT. And I'm really open to meet and to see what we can do together and to help him, you know, to be involved in this work.
Okay, so Asudams Timothy, Pastor Olutoye Emmanuel, and Felix, you have gotten the response there from Mr. Andreas Kalok. It says it can be reached through the media campaign against trafficking. Moving on to the program today. Last time you said you'd be in Nigeria in April, and this April, and you're back in Nigeria. What's your mission this time around?
Yeah, it's going around and do trainings. It's always, you know, a work of follow-up and getting in contact, you know, and staying in contact, because you can only do something and start something if you have like relationships, you know. And this is actually the reason I come here now two times a year, because I found out that coming only one time a year, it's such a long time. You lose all the relationships again, and it's very important to be in a relationship. And I mean, most of these people I work with, they become my friends, you know. And but there's so much to do, you know. So it's this, and also we go to Benin City because this is, as we always say, the hub of human trafficking. And I have a lot of questions actually how we can really fight this and stop this, because it's not getting less the problem. The problem is, as we can see in Europe, there's still a lot of girls coming. It's even more.
Okay, now you talked about the fact that you came this time around to do trainings and follow-ups. What kind of training are you impacting on the persons?
My focus is really on prostitution, and I do training that people can understand what prostitution really is. Because there's often a wrong understanding of this so-called bad women in the street, you know. And because I'm a Christian, I really believe that Jesus is a role model for us. And you know, it's so interesting. There are a lot of stories in the Bible where you can see how Jesus treated women different. And I think we can learn a lot out of this, you know. And I think we don't have to go to the streets.
That's the point I'm hinting on. What kind of trainings do you give them so that maybe it becomes a source of livelihood that may not make them to revert or relapse into prostitution?
I first train the people of the church so they understand, get another understanding, and really have love for this, women. And then secondly, we go out and do outreach and try to reach the women. I mean, we do this in Austria every week, and I also do it when I'm here with people to train them, because you can talk a lot, but if you go really out into the field, it's a difference, you know. You can really experience when you meet the women, you know.
Okay.
And secondly, I do training. I mean, how to go out, because you need some knowledge to do outreach, you know, to do street work or go into brothels. So this is my main focus. But I mean, there's a lot around, you know. Each case is individual, you know. You cannot say we do it like this, you know, because every woman, I mean, every human being is individual. So you have to find an individual solution for the woman.
Well, the program, once again, if you're just joining us, is Diplomatic Ties. Today we are taking a look at part 2 of the titled Networking with Nigeria in the fight against trafficking in persons. My guest is Andreas, a German based in Austria, who is networking with the private and public sectors in Nigeria in the fight against trafficking in persons. Stay on as the conversation continues after this time out. Before we went on the break, you were talking about trainings, but last time you came on the program, you talked about alternative to prostitution. And I remember, for gender balance, this trafficking in persons is not all about the girl child or the women. It's also about the boy child and the men. So where do you cover men in this your program? Is it all about women?
No, it's not all about women. I mean, there are much more women than men. But I know that there's also a problem with men. I don't know so much about it in Nigeria, but I think there's also like homosexual in the homosexual area that men are looking for boys. So, but
you don't have that case in Nigeria yet, right?
I don't know. But I guess you also. But you know, the problem is that it's
because the laws are there to.
It's hidden. You know, it's hidden.
Okay.
I mean, there's you know, the street prostitution and there's brothels, but even in Europe, especially this area of homosexual prostitution, it's often not seen, and it's very hard to get into it. You know, because it's at hidden places. But I mean, we had an encounter with men on the street, you know, and I mean, actually, one of the first who came out through our ministry was actually a young Romanian guy in this case who came out of this, you know.
Okay.
He was working as a transvestite in the streets, and my wife met him, and after this he stopped and he came out and he changed his whole life, and today he has a normal life and he's working, and this is this is really a success story.
Okay.
So, and we also had we once had a contact I think in Kaduna, and one of our co-workers from MECAT, and she did a radio program, and after this guy phoned her, I think, and she helped him too. So there are also cases of this.
So now you have already told me about follow-ups. Now you have some of you said there's a name you call them. You don't call them prostitutes. How do you call them?
We call them treasures.
How do you call treasures?
Treasures, yeah.
Okay. Now, how do you follow up on them to know whether you are succeeding in your program or not?
What our goal is actually that we also become friends of them. It's not only just we are just social workers helping them. In the way we meet them, you know, it takes a long time. We always say, you know, what you really need is a long breath, because these people, they don't, out of their experience, they hardly trust anybody. So it takes a long time until they trust you. So this means, I remember a girl. We met her for 2 years, every week.
A Nigerian?
No. In this case, it was a Bulgarian.
Okay, Bulgarian.
But it's, you know, it's the same. It's the same when they're in prostitution. Doesn't matter if they are Bulgarian or Nigerian or whatever. And after 2 years, she told my wife, "It took me 2 years to trust you." And then she asked for help. So what we need, and what I always tell everybody who wants to work in this area, you need a long breath. It's not going out and have success and then going on. You know, you need a long breath. You know, and because of this, you know, there's a relationship after this. And when you help them now, when you help a girl, you do it step by step. You know, and the more she trusts you, and the more she sees that there's a way out, you can help her. You know.
Okay. So
this is the follow-up. And even if we have girls that are out now for 6-7 years, and we are still in contact with them. You know, they still meet us, they still phone us, because there's a relationship and a friendship.
Okay. So the other side of it is, last time you talked about working with churches in Nigeria, and also working with the National Agency for Prohibition and Trafficking Persons. How is your networking with them like up till now?
I mean, with the churches, it's quite strong, because it's mainly our partners. You know, it's all kind of churches. It's Anglican, Pentecostal, traditional. I mean, churches. And I know that we collaborate with NEPTIP. It's like, you know, NEPTIP also has safe houses, but sometimes they ask us if we can take a girl. Just now we have a case. I know this that they asked us to take one of their girls in our safe house. So there's this collaboration, you know, and I think this is very important. We do it also in our country, in Austria. You know, we collaborate with most every group, because every group has something special. Every group has some special knowledge, so we can work together and getting stronger. You know.
Okay. Now I know that you're a private sector person, and you have crisscross the entire world doing what you're doing. Comparatively, what would you say? Are you impressed with the efforts by Nigeria in the fight against human trafficking, looking at the legislations in place and enforcement, as well as implementation?
Yeah, I think, I mean, you know, I mainly work with MECAT, and I'm actually impressed what they do. And also, I'm getting more and more in contact also with churches and pastors who really have a heart for this. So I think there is an improvement going on. Because I mean, sometimes it's hard, because you think, oh, it's such a big country, you know, and there's so much problems. But I mean, you know, what we always say, a rain starts with a drop, you know.
Sure.
So, and it's worth for every human being. If you save one human being, I mean, there's a saying, you know, it's a Jewish saying. If you save one human being, you save the world. So this is let me going on, you know.
Okay. You gave us a counsel last time on why parents, fathers, mothers, aunties, uncles, brothers should not encourage their wards or their children, brothers, their sisters, their daughters, their sons to go into maybe migration or illegal migration or prostitution. So what is your take on this time around?
Yeah,
something leads them to it, and what is that, and how can they stay off it?
I mean, it's sad to say that often the family is. I mean, when I speak to victims in Austria, I found out that there's a lot of pressure from the family, you know, and that makes me very sad, because it's a wrong kind of thinking actually. Because I mean, who invented that a girl has to go to Europe or somewhere else to make money and feed the whole family? I mean, this is a completely the thinking is completely upside down. I mean, and people know what happens, you know, and I think there's a lot of greed behind actually.
What could be responsible for this? Is it lack of awareness, or poor education, or is it poverty?
It's all. It's poverty. It's lack of awareness. Although I would say there's more awareness now, I think, than before, and people even know what will happen to them, you know. But I mean, many people say it's greed.
So what advice do you have for this class of persons who reason this way, who don't care to know the dangers involved, but the end result is their concern?
I mean, this is the reason that we, together with MECAT, we try to help them practically, especially in Benin. You know, start to give them like microfinance, little business. You know, this is, and also to change their mind that a business is not growing from one day to the other. It's a lot of steps, you know, and you start with little. But I think it makes a difference if you have something you can do and you see that money comes out, you know. But it's also you have to change your mind that and because you have to fight this greed, you know. So there are different, I think, different areas where you have to work against human trafficking.
Okay, so many things leads to the order. What's your comments about global migration currently, and what could be done to stem it?
I think, I mean, migration is normal. It has always been, you know, and it will never stop, you know. And I'm not happy with what the European Union in the moment is doing, that they close their borders. Because we are one of the richest countries in the world, you know, some of these countries are the richest in the world. And you know, and what we do is we close, we build up fences and walls. I think we should give more help, you know. We should look into the future of these people. I mean, it's also because it's also strongly driven by the war in Syria. You know, this is a big problem. But I mean, this is not only Syria, because the migration from Nigeria has always been, you know. But I think we should look more positively and invite. I mean, we cannot take everybody, but you know, we can take a lot of people, and we can give them a chance to get a good education, and then maybe they will go back.
Thank you, Mr. Andreas Kalok. It was nice talking with you, and we hope and believe that your mission this time in Nigeria, which you said is trainings and follow-ups, will go a long way to really expand the coast in the fight against trafficking in persons. It was good having you on Diplomatic Ties.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay. That's about that on the program today. We looked at fight against trafficking in persons. I believe the program was useful. And for those who sent in messages through the collaborating agency in Nigeria, which is the media campaign against trafficking in persons, I believe you'll be reached appropriately. On behalf of all of us here, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.